Waterwight Book 1, Chapter 26. Away from the heavy pull of the overleader's horrible house, Celeste could finally take to the air again and was over the village in a moment. It was a moonless night, but her vision was perfect. Examining the village thoroughly and determining the shifter was nowhere close by, she landed near the backyard gate. Orville lay alone in the center of the yard. The birdbath was empty, and Ranger and Floyd were pressed against the gate. When Celeste opened it, they rushed to her. "Do not go in," Ranger shouted, but it was too late. Celeste ran to where her friend lay dying. "Orville!" she called, her heart aching at the sight of him. "Do not touch him," Ranger shouted again, and Celeste was reminded of the time the shifter, in the form of a girl, extended her arms for a hug. The memory frightened her enough to pull back her hand. Orville looked up at her through glazed eyes. "Je suis désolé," he whispered. "So sorry." "What's wrong with you two?" Celeste called to Ranger and Floyd. "Can't you see he's dying? Hasn't anyone tried to help?" "The boy called Ryder fixed the disappearing boy, but he couldn't see how to fix Orville." Floyd backed away. "What do you mean fixed? How? What did he do?" Celeste was desperate for an answer that might help her save her friend. "He said he could see inside the leg and could move the bones by thinking about where they needed to be. He did the same with Orville's wing, as you can see, but the blood loss was too much. Even Ryder's great tears couldn't replace the loss." "Please do not touch him," Ranger pleaded when he saw Celeste reach for her friend. "I don't understand. I have to do something." "It is the shifter," Ranger explained. "After they dragged you away, others covered our heads. They locked us in here. Orville, they left by the porch. We heard hissing and saw the blackbird overhead just moments ago. It landed somewhere in the front. They just dragged Orville back here." Ranger paused when he saw the shocked expression on Celeste's face. "And he is different." "C'est vrai," Orville whispered. "It is true. I am fighting it, but I cannot hold it back for long." One of Orville's eyes flashed red when he finished speaking. "It's in you?" she asked, horrified by the thought of the shifter invading her best friend and enraged by the cruelty of the overleader for sending the demon bird to take advantage of the helpless frog. She backed away slightly, unconsciously. "It does not matter now. I am dying. You must take me back to where I was when the event occurred. You must take me back to the big water." Celeste's eyes grew wide. She shook her head no over and over again. "How will you take him there without touching him?" Ranger asked. He knew nothing of her oath. "I can't take him there. Why would you want to go back there? Please don't ask me to take you there. It's horrible. It's not the same as it was before the event. Ask me anything else, but please, not that." "But it must be so, ma petite," he said, and he grinned in a way she'd never seen before, in a way that exposed a row of tiny sharp teeth on the roof of his mouth, in a way that sent shivers up her spine. "Forgive me, it is not me," he said when he realized what the shifter had done. "But please, you must do this for me. And while I still have some control over the villain, do not make me explain. I cannot." The frog, the friend who had mysteriously connected with her in her nightmare, who had saved her life, who had believed in her, guided and protected her, had one final request of her, and she would not deny him. "I'll get the boat," she said, "and some blankets." Orville smiled then, an Orville smile, and Celeste ran to the house. She opened the door slowly, noiselessly, and nearly shrieked when she stepped inside and ran into Nick. Shh, he gestured, his fingers to his lips, and then he hugged her. I thought I'd never see you again. I heard voices and was on my way out to check on Orville. I'm so sorry. I couldn't stop them. Celeste didn't know how to respond. She was exhilarated by his affection, exhausted from her labors, confused by the unfolding of recent events, and frightened by the request from her dying friend. Please help me, she begged, pulling away from him. Orville's dying. I need some blankets. I'll explain outside. You go back to Orville. I'll bring the blankets. Celeste nodded and tiptoed back outside. On the porch, she could hear the cries from the nightmare house. She ran to where the boat sat in the yard and lifted it to where Orville waited. It pained her to see his limp body, his beautiful wings curled and dry against his back, and his struggle to constrain a creature that threatened to take over completely and hurt her. Hurry, she called to Nick, who was already running to her with blankets in her pack. I put your jacket and book and some food in here too. He held the pack for her while she adjusted it. He helped her spread one blanket on the ground beside Orville. Ranger and Floyd stood by as the other two pulled the blanket under the helpless frog and lifted Orville into the boat. Nick placed the other blankets around him and watched Celeste remove her beautiful stained scarf and tuck it beside her friend's head. Orville smiled again, thanked her wordlessly, and relayed one more silent message. Your name tag, the overleader gave it to you. I sensed it. Place it in your scarf and it will disappear with me. Celeste removed the slip of paper from her pocket and surreptitiously slid it under the scarf. I have to take him home, she told Nick. Where's Eenie? She asked the dogs. When Ranger answered, he couldn't look into her eyes. She ran out when the girl opened the gate for us. We have not seen her since. And Bridger? She asked, hopeful they would show mercy on the copper-colored child. In the nightmare house, Nick answered, and Ranger and Floyd aren't safe here anymore. The villagers demanded they stay locked up until they decided what to do with them, and they haven't even fed them. I keep letting you down. He looked away. Don't be ridiculous. You've helped me more than you know. We will find Eenie, Ranger said. And gosh, don't worry about us. We've survived with less, Floyd added, and the two dogs turned away from the village. Wait, Celeste called, and they stopped. There's an enormous jaguar, one like no other, with two cubs, and they're on their way here. His name is Thunder. Please tell him it's not safe here, and help him with his babies. They've just lost their mother. The dogs exchanged glances and then stared at Celeste. She sensed their uneasiness. You were there for me, and these are friends. If I see him on my way, I'll tell him to expect you, but I'm running out of time. Ranger and Floyd dashed away. You'll be back again, right, Pip? Nick placed a hand lightly on her shoulder. Where else is there to go? Here, help me move the boat outside the gate, okay? Oh, and the fissures are all closed, at least for now. Maybe you had something to do with it. Maybe... It is getting stronger, Orville interrupted, sounding as if he were choking on the words. Flashes of red illuminated the inside of the small vessel. Goodbye, Nick, she said before lifting into the air with the boat beneath her. Stay with me, Orville. I know you could never hurt me, she called down to her struggling passenger. She tried not to think about what she was on her way to do. That ends chapter 26 of book 1.